Let me see what we have here. Hello, caller.
Hello, it's Ramon.
Hey there, Ramon. How you doing, buddy?
Thank God. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for calling in. What are your thoughts? What do you prefer? What excites you more, the crypto industry or the precious metal sector, or the ratio for the precious metal?
I gotta be honest with you. I've been in crypto for a while, and it's not that I'm trying to get out of it, but I am trying to, really experiment with the precious metals, and I'm probably gonna be looking towards buying into silver next week.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I was asking some questions about that earlier.
Yeah.
Also because some of these cryptos I might try like Dash, and I think for me probably the priority would be one that's acceptable at some venues. So I'd probably try to make the choice based on that, not only on some of the other issues that you've been discussing, but whether it's usable. And given that, I'd like to ask you if you watched or if you read the Washington Post piece on the petro from today.
I did not. If you don't mind, because I usually comb the news, but I didn't see that. So if you get a chance, shoot that in the link. I would like to check that out. But no, I did not. So give me the rundown on it.
So one interesting thing that I saw about it, and I don't know if it's because the Washington Post, I don't trust them for a lot of things. But, I took a read anyway. They did say that one of the flaws in the petro is that unless you owe taxes in Venezuela, it's not necessarily useful, because Venezuelan citizens are not exactly eligible to buy it because you can only buy it in dollars. And people who buy it from outside the country, they don't really have any use for it because the petro isn't used for payment for almost anything besides buying things from the Venezuelan government. So,
right.
I don't know. Maybe have you heard anything different? Because the Washington Post kind of
right.
They don't always tell the straight story.
Yeah, definitely. That the angle they spun that off, I would imagine, is suspect and questionable. But yet, I believe that if the Venezuelan people or Maduro and his government or whatever decides to come up with a way of bypassing sanctions with an alternative currency called the petro, some blockchain type of coinage, that I'm sure they'd be willing to accept any currency to in exchange for the petro for their oil. So I can see it being of use, because I want to say I have read that Russia, I think China, Iran, a couple of those countries that are also in the sanctioned chopping blocks, they have either invested or have expressed interest in it. So it's good to say that a lot of countries will probably use their U.S. reserves and treasuries or whatnot. They'll probably be liquidating some of those things, whether it be for gold or whatever other currency they want to use to exchange for the petro. And I anticipate that they would do that because they want to actually receive delivery of their oil. So if you want oil from Venezuela, it's good to say that, you have to use either some type of metal or that petro coin. And so there's a lot of countries that are in support of it. So it's good to say it will be used. So I don't know what they're talking about, but, I could be completely off. But I believe it's going to get used, and they're going to redeem them coins for oil one way or another. So, yeah, I do believe that it probably will work for them temporarily.
I think one of the obstacles for actually receiving the oil is that, and this is something I know not from the currency market, but because I monitor for my content on my channel, a lot of the issues with their state oil company, PDVSA. So they're having employees just quit in droves. I think 10,000 quit in January.
Yeah.
And their productivity is just tanking right now, if you pardon the pun.
Yeah.
But it's like I would say that the idea that the Russians did where they made their own cryptocurrency, I think that, this is just me guessing, long term more people would have trust in that because they have a better administrative system there for all of their state industries than does Venezuela.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree as well. People probably would prefer anything to do with Russia, just because it appears, from what I'm aware of, it's a little bit more stable as far as not having currency meltdowns and stuff as of right now. But Venezuela, because there's so much chaos, I would imagine that governments are, really going to say, hey, we'll do these coin stuff, but yet we want to be able to receive this oil. So the question will be then, from Venezuela, the logistics of getting oil, if they redeem some coins, to the receivers, whether it be Russia, China, whatnot. So the transportation of the oil will be what will be brought in question, because the route they may take. I wouldn't be surprised if they do look to collect on oil, that mysteriously a tanker gets sunken or gets taken down, or something happened where between leaving Venezuela and going to destination, something happens by mistake, of course. So we'll see how that all plays out, but it's going to be interesting, because if it does work, more countries are going to do it. And if more countries do it, that means no one needs the Federal Reserve note and treasuries and things like that. So that's just more pressure. It's going to equal a much harder living on us here as all those Federal Reserve notes come back here where they belong. So, yeah. But we will see.
Yeah, I think what about yesterday there was the Italian election, and there was a lot of people talking trash about the euro falling apart. You think there might be people dumping the euro in order to invest in cryptos or precious metals?
I wouldn't doubt it, because the EU is in such a mess right now. The fact that they're still quantitative easing, and we're supposedly, done with the recession type, or done with the whole meltdown from years ago. So the fact they're still buying up everything they can. The question is, which is what I'm concerned about here, is that how is the Federal Reserve going to unleash and unwind, their balance sheet, and going to, absorb some of that liquidity that they pumped out there, or that's been held in the bank? So who's going to buy that stuff? So on the EU side as well, they're buying up every piece of bond or junk or corporation and stock or whatever they can. Who's going to be, the one willing to buy all that back? Who's going to have the money to buy all that back? So they're going to run into problems big time, because they can't unwind. I think that's going to be the biggest hiccup. People are going to realize you can't unwind something that's already fraudulent as ever. You can't just create out of thin air and all of a sudden just collect it back, or make it vanish in the thin air like it was created. So, yeah, but I don't know. This is all an experiment, my friend. We will find out. And unfortunately, we're the guinea pigs on these monetary policies. So that's why, the question was posed: Bitcoin, or cryptos or precious metals, because either way, both of them items will be, measured against a dying fiat currency. So they're both going to appreciate in value technically. But the question is, which one do you rather have, or which one would you prefer to put more of your energy and life savings into? And me personally, I'm more of a precious metals guy, just because I know its money has always been and always going to be. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, that's a lot of, I think we're kind of glaring at a fork in the road right now.
Yeah, very much so.
Anyway, I'll let you get back. I am going to send you an article, because I know you have that basketball in your past. I have this idea about fixing the NCAA.
Oh,
kind of unrelated to this.
Interesting. Okay.
I'll just send it to you when it's published.
Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.